Hello and welcome to Geek Addicts, the pop culture podcast where we talk about Pokemon and stuff. My name is Matt, otherwise known as Organism Number One. With me is Bill, also known as Organism Number Two. How you doing?
I'm very tired. This has been one of those weeks where it's like, I swear I've been like trying to catch up on my sleep all week and it just has not been working.
Yeah, sleep is a luxury for me.
See, I was doing okay and then like I didn't get to sleep till like pretty late on Tuesday because we were recording 3DO. And then on Wednesday, we did a live stream over with the Superpod guys. And I was up till midnight talking about the Nintendo Direct. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah, it was.
yeah. I wanted to jump in on one of those direct things, but by the time I noticed, it was already I was already locked into putting the kid down and all that other stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do more.
I did watch it though. I did. Well, I watched the Nintendo Direct at least with Xander.
Some good stuff.
Anything in particular that caught your eye aside from like the Dragon Quest remake and stuff?
Mario and Luigi's still alive, so that was a huge thing. Started the friggin' conference off. That was cool. One of my favorite parts is how they followed up all these really awesome announcements with some of the most lamest buzzkill announcements ever.
What, you're not excited for the Funko Pop video game?
No, none of us. we were all so butthurt about that on the live stream that we did. But
I mean, honestly, I'd give it a shot. Fuck it. I mean, it's just a big multiverse game. It's just Funko Pops instead of the actual guys.
It looks like such a cash grab. It looks like a cash grab
totally
that's like
is.
It looks like a cash grab that's like 6 years too late at this point.
Yeah. Honestly, probably longer than that. I feel like Funko Pops. I mean, they're still everywhere, but I feel like the hype for them had definitely died down.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the third direct. I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Which actually, that just reminded me. A couple weeks ago, I was taking out some trash at work, and in the dumpster, I saw the empty box of an Inuyasha pop figure.
Someone has good taste. That's funny.
Thought you'd get a kick out of
that. The other one that we thought was like, "What the hell is this?" was the Looney Tunes like basketball game. We were like, "What? Like, who asked for this?" Like,
yeah, I don't know about that one. That came out of nowhere.
That and Just Dance again. That also slowed. That was when I went up to go pee during the freaking.
That fucking Looney Tunes movie is so old too. Like, what are they doing making a fucking Looney Tunes basketball game now? You're way too late on that one.
I mean, Space Jam 2 didn't save the series. I don't think this game's gonna help.
For real.
Yeah, it was a good direct though. A lot of fun stuff. Some not so cool stuff, but I mean, hey, you can play Hello Kitty.
I'm mostly excited for the Erdrick trilogy remake.
Yeah, that's fun. I bunch of Zelda games that look pretty cool.
Yeah, Xander was excited about the new Zelda.
I also pissed everyone off on the call when I did not give a shit about the Lord of the Rings game.
Oh, I must have missed that.
It was like it was inspired by it had the worst name ever. It was like Tales of something, and which annoyed me because it wasn't a Tales series game. It was another game that used Tales of in their name.
Oh,
but
okay.
Was
it not an actual Lord of the Rings game, or was
it's a Lord of the Rings game. It has a weird name.
Oh, I must have just walked out at the wrong time for that. I feel like Xander would have said something though. Weird.
Yeah. All I remember is I was the buzzkill during the live stream. I was like, I don't give a shit about any of this, and everyone was like, I just got the coldest looks from everybody, which was hilarious.
That's because you're the weird nerd that doesn't like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
No, I mean, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, like, the vast majority of nerds love Lord of the Rings.
I got judged hard during that live stream. But that's besides the point.
That's fair.
Boy.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Last time we recorded, did I say that I was like 40 hours into Persona?
Something you were past Kanji's dungeon, and no, you just did Michio's dungeon. The kid, the
Right, the Detective Prince guy, girl, whatever.
oh no, you hadn't said
Um,
there yet. You done the fake decoy kill the copycat killer.
oh, right. Yeah, I made a lot more progress. I'm at like 65 hours now. Nanako is recovering.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
you're there.
that
You're there.
I
Okay.
jumped quite a bit ahead.
Did you finish her social link?
I was at like 8, I think. I didn't
Okay.
get it all the way. I tried to, but by the time I got to that point,
I'm not sure if you get a shot to finish it, so you might have to wait till your next playthrough to finish that one. But
oh really?
yeah, well, because she's going to be in the hospital for a while. But
For 4 months?
I don't want to say anything because of spoilers. But
Hmm. All right. Oh well, we'll see what happens.
you're getting to a very crucial part of the game. Let's just
Well,
say.
now like the fog is just kind of like permanently there, and everybody's getting sick and shit. So it's like, the hell's going
Yeah,
on?
there's a very big scene coming up. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Well, I got to get through finals first.
Yes, in the fog.
Yes. But
Um,
yeah. Aside from that, watched a couple more animes this week. What the hell was the first one? Oh, I watched Dorohedoro.
oh, nice. Alex will be pleased.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I just feel like it was like really busy. It was a very busy show for a 13 episode.
Yeah, and apparently that doesn't even cover like a third of it. So
Well, I believe it. I mean, it was an interesting story and everything. There was just so much going on. It's like I had to try and like keep up with what was going on in the world,
from what Alex tells me,
like
it gets
figure everything
fucking
out.
yeah. From what Alex tells me, it gets fucking nuts later in the manga.
I do like how much it humanizes a lot of the villains and stuff. Like not villains, but like the antagonists for like it's like nobody's like really a like true villain. It's just like the sorcerers and the regular people.
It's kind of honestly the entire anime is kind of nothing but villains when you really think about it.
Kinda, yeah. But I mean,
Other than
it was
maybe
interesting.
other than maybe Nikaido, like she's kind of the true neutral in this whole thing. But
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I watched that, and I also watched Trigun Stampede,
okay,
which is vastly different from the original '90s anime. It's so different that if they didn't put the Trigun name on it, I would have thought it was something completely different.
did you see the Trigun re-releases are getting close to coming out?
The mangas,
Yeah, the
yeah,
reprints.
yeah, they're getting the big like leather bound volumes.
Yeah, they're going to be yellow. So now you get black, red, and yellow.
That's so weird. Yellow is such a gross color for that.
Well, it's like a golden yellowish color. It's
I guess
interesting.
that's better. I feel like red would have made more sense. I mean, I know Helsing already has red, but I mean, they both wear big red coats. So, I mean, what do you want?
Yeah,
I mean, I guess you
another
could say yellow because he's blonde, but
maybe. All I know is you're going to have a lot more people buying them and never opening them on their shelves because people do that for some reason.
yeah, I never understood that.
I love the
I don't know.
photos of
I feel like I feel like a golden brown would have been better for
that.
because it takes place in like a desert setting.
That might be the color it ends up actually being because the renders aren't the best right now. But
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was vastly different. Like all the characters were, aside from like the main character, like everyone was like completely different. Like the main girl from the original anime, totally different character.
yeah,
Like, and the other girl wasn't even in it.
hmm.
Which they set it up so that she's gonna be in the second season, but I don't know. I'm assuming that this is the more accurate version because that's usually how it goes when with reboot animes, but I don't know. I'd have to read the manga to know for sure, but I enjoyed it. It was just like so vastly different that I didn't even like it didn't feel like I was watching Trigon.
Hmm. I've heard Alex says she likes that one, so I'm pretty sure it's pretty good.
Did she watch both of them or just the new one?
Yeah, Alex is a big Trigun fan. She's been dying for the manga re-releases for a while now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would probably be wise of me to buy them as they come out. So that way it's just not as um, daunting. Because I don't know how many volumes there is for the actual series, but um, yeah, the only reason I got the Helsing ones is because there's only 3 of those deluxe editions.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing will ever beat me in my my quest to get all the freaking Inuyasha Bizbigs.
I've
That
been
was
seeing those at Newbury Comics a lot lately.
they keep reprinting them, but like there's always like the one volume that's just stupidly expensive for a while.
That's just how it goes with comics and manga, though.
Yeah.
There's always that one volume or that one particular issue that's just outrageously more expensive than everything else for whatever reason.
Yep. I mean, at least manga gets reprinted on a semi-regular basis, depending on the series. Like comics, like if that goes out of print, like you might have to wait like decades before you actually it ever gets like reprinted.
Mm-hmm. That's true. But yeah, aside from that, I watched a few of those Marvel series. Like I watched like WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier and Loki, the first season of each.
Yeah,
It's
I've
pretty
heard
cool.
those are good. I'm just like so marveled out at this point.
Understandable. I liked WandaVision the most, I think, with
That's the
Loki
one
as a
I've
close second.
yeah, that's those are the ones I've heard are the best. Like I've heard those are good. I've heard the Captain America one with Falcon and Winter Soldier is okay. Um, I've
I
heard
mean, it was
She-Hulk.
good. I just feel like the aesthetic of Falcon Winter Soldier just isn't really my cup of tea.
Yeah, I've heard She-Hulk is bad, but that's I don't know if that's legitimate like criticism or just like people complaining because complaining. Um,
Who knows?
it's not something I'll ever watch, so I have no idea. But
I'll end up watching it eventually because at this point I'm just kind of uh, just set on it. Like
yeah,
at this point, I've already gone through all those movies that I've gone through, and at this point, I'm closer to the end than I am to the start, so I might as well just keep going.
yeah. At this point for me, like I'm pretty sure the only movie I plan on seeing left at this point is the uh the Wolverine and Bull movie. That's probably the only one I really care to see.
Understandable. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one.
And that's mostly just because
Although,
I want
hmm,
I was gonna say that's mostly just because I just want to see Hugh Jackman in the yellow spandex. That's really about it.
fair enough. Um, yeah, well, I mean, they're also rebooting Fantastic Four and X-Men to be part of the MCU, so I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how those go. So, and they kind of set
X-Men's gonna be
Spider-Man up to
weird.
be like they kind of set up Spider-Man to be like Iron Man's like successor. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
interested to see where
feel
that goes.
I think Tony Stark's gonna be back at some point.
I mean, it's superheroes, so even if it ends up just being like an alternate timeline version of Tony Stark, he'll be back.
Something tells me Robert Downey Jr. will come back at some point.
Mm.
They can never stay away that long.
No, no, God no. I'm I'm interested to see how because I know the the newest Thor movie happens before Guardians 3, or at least it came out before Guardians 3. Um, so I'm curious because I mean you saw Endgame, right?
Yeah, that's the last one I did see. Well, that and I saw the Spider-Man, the one with all the Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah, because the way the Endgame finishes off, where Thor goes off with the Guardians, like I'm curious to see what becomes of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so burned out on these movies.
Understandable. Although I would definitely say like you should definitely give WandaVision and Loki a shot because they're pretty good.
True, although committing to a show is harder, especially when I have like animes that I also have to commit to.
True, but they're like mini series. They're pretty short. Like I watched like those three that I watched one a day, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, yeah, maybe someday.
Maybe one day when your sourness on Marvel has faded a bit.
It's not Marvel; it's superhero movie. It's just superhero stuff in general.
That's fair.
I'd say DC, but DC can't seem to figure out how to do anything right now. So
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
movie and TV wise at the moment. Comics, they're actually doing pretty good, but that's a really different medium. But
so,
yes.
Yep, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of comics and media and manga, we're doing another Pokemon Adventures this episode, if you couldn't tell by the intro.
Yeah.
um,
Anyone who hasn't read this section would be really confused by my intro.
Yeah. So yeah, we're finally jumping back into Pokemon Adventures. I think actually this is the quickest we've jumped back into it since the last episode.
Yeah, well, this one was a lot easier to get through and prepare for because there's only 3 volumes. So
true. So those who don't know, we're covering the Fire Red and Leaf Green arc this time around, which is where. So last arc we finished up Ruby and Sapphire, which was a completely whole new world for all of us. This time we're going right back to where we started with Fire Red Leaf Green, following Red, Blue, and Green once again. Yep.
And just at the top here, I just want to say I read it towards the beginning of the week, and this is the first one I think where I didn't take any notes, so I'm just kind of going off the dome on this one.
Okay, I read it last night, so
that's fair. It's fresher with you.
I mean, you might remember more because for some reason I am terrible at remembering what goes on in these Pokemon mangas.
It's a pretty busy manga. There's a lot going on in each, even with the shorter arcs. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, that was the big thing I noticed right away because like Ruby and Sapphire is busy, but it was also a lot easier to follow. This one, I was like, oh, we're back to Gold and Silver again with convoluted everything.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because there was multiple points during this where I was just like, what the fuck is going on?
There's no overtly obvious butt shots though that I remember.
No, there was, but it was red this time. It was red this time. You remember the scene where like he's standing up there in just like his undershirt, and I'm like, why did Yamamoto have to define his ass so much? So
you know what's funny is in that scene where he just had the undershirt, for some reason, like the way he was dressed reminded me so much of like Yugimoto.
Yeah, kind of. I was just like laughing when I got to that scene where I was just like, so Yamamoto's not being creepy with the girls. He's just a butt guy in general.
Yep. Which, fair. And it's not as creepy this time because they're like older. They're not like 12.
Well, yeah, time skip. They're all 16 now. And right off the bat, I will say, art-wise, Yamamoto's art, I think, is finally really hitting its peak, like stride at this point.
Yeah, he's definitely really settled into it at this point.
Because I love the way how he drew Red, Blue, and Green. They all they actually look older, which I think is really a nice touch because like I hate in like media where it's like, oh yeah, 3 years have passed, but they look identical to they did at the start of the series.
Yeah. Do you like how Green's remake outfit was like gifted to her by Silver?
Yeah, that was a nice touch. Like, as much as I like her previous design, like the little black dress, I much prefer the her redesign, which is essentially they gave her the female protagonist from Fire Red and Leaf Green's design, which is like the red skirt, blue shirt, white hat design.
Yeah.
Which is just a good design.
Works for her.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, technically that's the character. They have the same character technically, so it works perfectly. I did admit though there was a few points like where she's getting like flung upside down at points, and I'm just like, she's got magic skirt syndrome because it doesn't move at all.
Yeah.
Like there's a point where she's held like directly upside down and it's just like perfectly stuck. I'm like, they must have gone extra hard on the starch. because that thing wasn't moving.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was a nice
Yeah,
touch.
I
Though.
would make the excuse that it was happening between panels, but manga artists always call attention to it if it's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I did enjoy that though. I will admit, the characters have definitely matured personality wise because Green is significantly more mature in this arc. Ironically, she goes through some fucking more hell in this arc than I think anyone does.
No kidding. She still got some sticky fingers though.
Well, I mean, she'll never lose every aspect of her character.
True, that is kind of like her shtick.
Ironically, the one scene that happens, she's like super casual about it. It's just kind of like a little joke that they don't even acknowledge much.
They're like, she's just being her. Whatever.
I say before we get into the plot, though, I will say I was not really expecting Red to go through a wank start in this arc, but my God, he was so angsty, like whiny for like a good portion of this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of wanted to kind of give him a little development arc because he was such a vanilla character in his original arc.
I think
And pretty much every appearance he had since, he was just so like, oh, I'm the hero.
True. I mean, he still has more personality than like Ash or like Game Red, which isn't saying a lot, but it is still something.
Yeah, true.
I will say though, like it was just such a the arc would have been fine if they didn't end it in such a like psych kind of rug pull right at the end.
True, but I mean, but you I don't know if you read further because I know you said that you kind of started the Emerald arc, but
I didn't get far enough to really learn anything.
I gotcha. Well, I mean, the way it ended, yeah, it is definitely kind of like a rug pull, but it's also kind of setting up for like the big finale for like the big.
Oh, I'm not talking about
overarching arc.
I'm not talking about how the manga and how the arc ended. I'm talking about how like the Red's whole like angst like mini arc ended, where it was just like
crisis.
Yeah, it was such a like surprise that was meaningless, but
true.
Yeah.
Well, when they actually explain what his deal was, it's just like
it was like really.
It's like yeah. I mean, it's kind of convoluted, but it fits right into the vein of Pokemon. So
yeah, it wasn't quite as bad as Ruby pulling the Celebi out of his ass, but like it was still just like, come on.
True.
I will admit, like I'm starting to notice some recurring themes with Katsuka where he'll sometimes write something very ambitious and then he'll just last second be like, nah, I'm done with this, and just like kind of throw it away. I'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So with this arc, because we're returning to, previous characters and stuff, like I know we usually start these things with like kind of going through the characters and how we feel about each one, but there's not very many new ones in
There's really
this arc.
There isn't really any in general.
I think it's just those three Team Rocket, Team Rocket guys.
The quote unquote villains of this arc.
Those are like the only really new characters, aside from like Green's parents, who like I don't even know if they have a line throughout the whole thing.
No. Yeah, let's get into that. Like, so this arc is interesting because it kind of the last thing we had seen was right at the end of the Ruby and Sapphire arc. We got the quick cliffhanger spoil of like basically the hard open of Giovanni returns, and we kind of jump from there where it's like we're now like the whole like thing is like, oh, the gang's going back to Pallet Town for like the first time in years, and they're all adults now, kind of 16 by Pokemon standards, anyways. And I forget like how it doesn't it. We start right away with Silver gives Green her new outfit, and she talks about how she's finally going to meet her parents after like all this time. And as she's getting on the boat back to Kento, some strange things start happening.
Yeah. I forget, was she attacked on the boat or was it like when they were getting there?
So they were on the boat, but it was right when they were getting back to the right when they were about to dock. Um, she starts like getting attacked by like this invisible force, and she ends up putting on her Sylph scope, and it reveals that it's a Deoxys of all things.
Mm-hmm.
And during this encounter, like she gets essentially like fucking choked out, and her Sylph scope gets destroyed. And in the process, also her parents get kidnapped, like right from under her.
Yeah, they get sucked into like a black hole or something.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Carr.
But yeah, they get sucked into like a black hole, and she's like kind of freaked out about it, and I think
It's
she
like
ends up getting sent to like the hospital or something.
yeah, because she was like because basically like red and green, red and blue. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get confused on the names because they're different in Japan versus America, and it gets confusing like that.
Mm-hmm.
So red and blue show up, and they immediately kind of start the they go in to save the day essentially. But I gotta say though, like, what does the universe have out like against Leaf? I'm not Leaf, Green at this point.
I don't know. I mean, it just. I mean, you can say the same about Silver as well, because it seems like you just with both of them, it just keeps piling and piling.
True. With Green though, it's like, oh, she's finally happy. She's gonna finally meet her parents. It's like, nope, just like rip that out from under her.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty rough.
Oh, we should also mention before that, when Red and Blue first return to Pallet Town, they're instructed to go to Professor Oak's lab because they need to turn in their Pokédexes.
Yeah, for an unknown reason.
Yeah, it comes off as very sinister, like they're being taken away, essentially, like nobody's worthy of them. And it's also
Mm-hmm.
shown that Green had given hers away as well when she had stopped by to visit Professor Oak.
Yeah.
So basically, this arc starts off, and there's a lot of shit going on right away, and it's already kind of like the funny part about this, which is something that the series kind of adapted later on, but because the arcs all have different names, like you'd think that these could be different jumping in points, but if you jump in here, you're going to be so confused, it's not even funny.
Oh yeah, because there's elements from like pretty much every previous arc at this point.
Yeah, even Ruby and Sapphire to a minor degree, like there's so much shit going on, and it's like I hope you've been paying attention this whole time because we're getting to the end game of this ongoing story, and my god, there's a lot of shit.
Oh yeah. And it'll become even more so in the following arc too, which is the final of the I guess like the original storyline, if that's how
Yeah,
you want to call it.
before they started serializing it more.
Mm-hmm. Um. So I forget. Did Red get attacked at the Professor Oak's lab, or was it like when they were on their way to the Sevi Islands?
It was when they were on their way to the Sevi Islands, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, they get attacked by Deoxys and get completely destroyed. Like no chance. You guys just got wrecked.
There's a great panel of it's red blue, and then they have Charizard and Venusaur out, and then like Deoxys just fucking wrecks their shit, and just the faces on Charizard and Venusaur are priceless because they have this look of pure shock as like the land in between them is just obliterated, and they're like,
Yeah.
"What?"
It's
Crazy.
like that was not good.
So is this around the point where they run into Lorelai? Oh no, they had they ran into that weird
Ultima.
Ultima, the gypsy-ish kind of woman.
Yeah, the weird old lady who
Has
she's in the game would have been the one who teaches like the super powerful like starter attacks. So like yeah, Frenzy Plant, Blast Burn, and Hydro Cannon.
Hydro Cannon. Although there is an interesting line where it's implied that the trainers kind of created them themselves, because there's a point where later on we find out that Green kind of developed Hydro Cannon herself.
Hmm.
which interesting. I like that the manga does do kind of like plays around with liberties like that.
Hmm. Yeah, and the way that they went through the whole process of learning those moves was really interesting too.
Well, yeah, because they
Um,
had they pit red and blue against each other again, even though it's like they've already reached their like peace at this point.
yeah, for sure. Um, but they kind of do like a well, you watched the very beginning of Hunter x Hunter, right?
Yeah,
It was kind of like the way like the different phases of the Hunter exam went, where they had to fight like it was like they had to do like the first stage like on a conveyor belt situation, but they had to jump rope the whole way, and
yeah,
then I forget what the second one was, but they basically just had to do all these little like tasks down this conveyor belt that was going the opposite way, and then at the end of it, they had to fight each other.
and they still ended up tying, which was interesting, which was pretty actually fitting for them.
Mhm.
And
For
by
sure.
the end, Ultima's like, "Well, it's great that you tied and all, but I still can only pick one of you."
Yeah.
And of
And at this
course,
point, I think they were kind of suspicious of her because they didn't know if she was like related to the Deoxys incident or whatever.
I mean,
And then
she's
when they
kind
get,
of she is kind of suspicious.
yeah, she is. But they get to the end of like the path or whatever, and they see her supposedly being attacked by Deoxys, and then it also afterwards seems like maybe they're friends. They're like, "Oh, so you were the villain after all?" And she's like, "No, actually, this isn't Deoxys at all. It's actually Green's Ditto that tagged along for some reason."
Yeah. Yep.
Because
Um,
Green's Ditto just has to fuck with people like that and has been since the beginning.
I mean, it's like its master. So,
True.
but yeah. So Red ends up learning the move, but in the next scene, we're actually reintroduced to Lorelei returns, which
Which I thought
is
was cool bringing back another member of the Elite Four. Because I know we saw a little bit of Lance during like the Gold and Silver arc. But like aside from that, like we really haven't seen any of the original Elite Four members.
I like Lorelei coming back too because she just fucking disappears after the original like Gen 1 anyways.
Hmm.
And I like they gave her a bit more like personality overall because like it's interesting seeing her interact with Red now because considering she's the one that froze him in the original arc.
Yeah, for sure. It kind of makes me wish that Sabrina was in this arc too,
And I mean Red needs more bitches to swim in. Um
especially since Sabrina is one of the few people who is still loyal to Team Rocket.
yeah, kind of forgot that was still an arc. Um Now, so I also did like the fact that they kind of revealed Lorelei's from the Sevi Islands or the all the different islands.
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure was in the game.
I haven't played Fire Red and Leaf Green in forever, so I couldn't tell you. But
It's been a long time, but I feel like I remember bumping into Lorelei on the Sevi Islands because you can't go there until after you beat the Elite Four.
true,
So
true.
I feel like they did just pull that straight from the game. But I like how like they use that as a way to say, okay, like here's Lorelei. Yeah, she was a villain before, but now like she's defending her home, so they have a reason to kind of team up and put the past behind them, which is nice.
I will say, being a villain in this universe seems to be just like a rite of passage because it seems like everyone's a villain at one point or another.
Yeah, well, it seems like there are a few people who just kind of just stay that way. Like Giovanni, like he's got his own issues, obviously, as we have seen, and yeah, he does kind of have his good points, which we will see later in this arc. But um, like the first time we see Giovanni in this arc is when he like absolutely wrecks this gang of bikers instead of chasing Lostel, if you remember her from Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Yeah,
Um, and he just completely wrecks all these bikers. And he's just like, well, if you're gonna be evil, do it all the way, assholes.
yeah, he's just a smug dick the entire
Yeah,
time. Also, this is also the arc where Silver finally gets told that Giovanni's his dad.
yeah, which was a fun reveal. Also, what the heck was up with that outfit they put him in?
Yamamoto was just bored, I guess. I don't know.
He was watching Dragon Ball and was like, hey, shoulder pads.
he started designing it and he just never stopped.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, because after he finds out they're like, it's the heir to Team Rocket, and he gets this weird fucking outfit. It's like he's like, what the fuck
And as
is
soon as he
this?
wakes up, he's like, "No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
Fuck
he's
you
like,
guys."
fuck this. But he keeps the outfit the entire time, which I'm like, all right.
Yeah, for real.
Um,
It's too funny.
this might sound a little disjointed to anyone listening, but this arc honestly is kind of disjointed and all over the place.
Yeah, and to be honest, like I said, I didn't take notes, so I'm kind of just jumping around to what I remember. I'm trying to stay on track as much as I can, but
Well,
some of the middle bits.
that's like the thing. Like it'll jump to like red and blue, and then also will go back to green, and then it will go back to red and blue, and then suddenly we're with yellow in back in Kanto, and she's like getting harassed by Blue's hologram. Um,
Oh yeah, that was a thing, wasn't it?
yeah, because she's chilling at gym, and then suddenly like Blue just appears behind her, and it's a hologram.
Hmm.
And I do like that she also doesn't have her hat on for like the first half, so she's kind of she's just like being normal again.
Yeah, well, now I mean, she doesn't really have a reason to hide it anymore. I mean, the only person she wanted to hide it from at that point was Red, and he already
She
knew.
didn't.
So
She didn't really have a reason to hide it to begin with. It was just green being green.
true, but yeah, I know we're kind of like backtracking a little bit, but I love how we had the whole thing where Green was like, "Hey, like, pretend you're a boy until you can take advantage of the fact that you're a girl." I was like, "Well, she's like 15 now, and she still looks exactly the same, so I
Yeah,
don't think
she,
this is ever going to
yellow
happen for her."
yellow barely aged. Meanwhile, like the rest of the cast all like straight up like aged 3 years and actually looks it.
But I love that we still had that same moment of Silver looking at her, being like, "You're older than me."
Yeah. I love Silver's characterization in the manga. He's like so much more interesting than his game counterpart.
For real.
Also,
Yeah, I definitely like.
I was surprised
Okay,
Silver's the only gold and silver character that shows up.
there will be more in the next arc.
That's what I figured. It was weird to be honest because I figured they'd all kind of converge, but I guess they're saving that for the ending.
Well, it makes sense in context because if you're gonna have like any of the gold and silver people be involved, like if Giovanni's already in the arc, it kind of has to be Silver.
True. I do want to say though, like one we should probably let's talk about a Red's angst arc here. So like throughout the whole like Sevi Island stuff, like Red is just getting progressively more and more depressed, like throughout the arc.
Yeah, like he got his ass kicked once, and then he just like kind of gets super butthurt about it.
Well, he's super hung up about the Pokédexes being taken away. Like that,
Hmm.
like just is like bothering him the entire time to the point where he like lashes out at both blue and green at one point,
Hmm.
which is completely out of character for Red.
Yeah,
Um, and like he just goes through this entire like thing where he's all like just bummed for no reason. And then we find out that it gets revealed that, oh yeah, by the way, the Pokédexes weren't being taken away because you weren't worthy. They were being taken away because Professor Oak wanted to upgrade them.
yeah, he just got kidnapped before he could do it.
Yeah, he got kidnapped and they didn't get the full story. So it was just it annoyed me that it's like his whole reason for being depressed is that it's like, oh no, it was a misunderstanding. You're just being weird. I was
I
like,
mean, if we're being totally honest, like a lot of the things that happen in this arc could have easily been avoided if the characters had just done the obvious thing. Like if Red had just opened up Green's envelope, it would have been like, "Oh, here's the Pokedex upgrades that we weren't told about."
yeah, and the fact that they were just there the entire time, it was like
And
great.
then like I know we're kind of jumping forward, but like the whole drive for Giovanni doing all of this was so he could use Deoxys to find his lost son, which
Yeah,
the people
who's
he's fighting know him.
yeah.
So it's just all he had to do is show the picture and say, "Hey, have you seen this kid?" Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
know him. He lives in Johto. Like,
And so then after that, the Red eventually does get his like wits back, and he like starts being like, "All right, I have to do this thing," and he basically like goes into this weird like self-sacrifice mode where he's all like, "I'm gonna do this and save everybody,"
mhm.
which was bizarre. Like I'm like Red is going through a weird character arc right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Also, did he have to be shirtless for that entire thing?
he didn't have to be shirtless.
Yamamoto
But
wanted him to be shirtless, though.
well, look, we already had 2 full arcs with him not taking his shirt off. He was due, you know.
I was just like, I'm like, his shirt wasn't even wrecked. He just takes it off, and I'm like, okay, I guess he's shirtless now. The rest of this arc.
Well, no, he because the ship was crashing, and he
Oh
used
right,
his shirt to like tie the fuck did you I guess like the steering wheel for the airship. He would like pull it back so that they were pointing up like an airplane.
right,
So he kind of like tied it onto that and tied it back so it would be pulled back while he was doing other things.
right. In other words, Yamamoto just wanted to draw him shirtless, I guess.
Pretty much. I'm sure he could have worked something out. I mean, we didn't even bring this up yet, but Mewtwo shows up and it's just like, hey, Red.
Oh yeah,
Let's do this.
yeah, Mewtwo does show up, and he's a bro for most of the arc, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I love that Mewtwo's just like, you know what, Red? Like, you're one of only like 2 people I trust. So we're gonna hang out. We're gonna do this. We're gonna team up. I'm gonna talk to you and nobody else.
I was actually gonna say, like, all the previous arcs had like a bunch of like female fan service. This one is straight up all male fan service. I just realized that.
It was due
He just flipped the switch.
for sure. Also,
just
did you
thought it
read
was-
all of Mewtwo's? Did you read all of Mewtwo's lines at Dan Green's voice?
No, I read him in the guy from the movie's voice.
That's Dan Green.
No, not in the original movie.
Yeah, huh? That was totally Dan Green.
No, it's a different guy. There was a whole mystery behind it.
What? I swear to God that because I remember specifically hearing that saying that's Yugimoto.
No, so Dan Green did it later on. The let's see, the voice
With
for
the
the movie.
Mewtwo Returns.
Yes, he all right, let's find his name. Why isn't Mewtwo top built? What is this shit? It was Philip Bartlett.
What? That's wild.
So that was a mystery for years. Well, his actual name is apparently okay, so Philip Barnett is a pseudonym. Oh yeah. We're off the rails here, but this story is bizarre. So Philip Barnett is actually his stage name. His real name is Jay Geode. And
Okay.
he's
I feel like that's a way better name.
Yeah, but they all use their name. They use stage names for their stuff like that. So he's a Broadway actor, and that's why he has that like very deep and like imposing voice.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of distanced himself from this actor for years, but because he went under Philip Bartlett, everyone thought that was his name, and there was actually another actor named Philip Bartlett who had passed away, and there was a lot of people that were like doing tributes for the guy, and then people realized, oh, that's not actually him.
Oh, that's wild. I always thought it was Dan Green.
No, it's because Dan Green replaced him for all the other appearances.
Okay. Because I don't think I think there was only the one follow-up like TV movie, and I don't think there was any others. At least until Pokemon left wasn't part of 4Kids anymore, and they recast everybody.
So, believe it or not, there actually was there was a stage show called Pokemon Live that ran in the 2000s. In the one appearance that Mewtwo made throughout that thing, Jay Geode actually did the voice in like one of the only other appearance he did, which is interesting.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's the voice though I always associate with Mewtwo.
Okay, that's fair. I watched Mewtwo Returns a lot though when I was a kid, so makes sense why I just defaulted to Dan Green. I like that one. I don't know if you ever watched it, but
it always confused me because technically the first movie is called Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Yeah, that was yeah.
And then the sequel is Mewtwo Returns. It's like, wait a minute. But yeah,
maybe they're just inspired by Star Wars. I don't know.
Maybe. But yeah, so Mewtwo's there chilling. Is he still like fused with Blaine? Because Blaine doesn't really appear.
No, because remember in the Gold and Silver arc, Entei used his like healing fire to like burn off whatever weird shingles thing that Blaine had going on.
Right.
And that kind of
right.
like severed the connection.
So now Mewtwo's just chilling.
Yeah, now Mewtwo's just free and can just go about, and that's apparently how he learned how to speak to people telepathically.
Yeah.
Because he had more freedom? I don't know. He's around people less, so now he could talk to people more. Makes sense of that.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, so what happened next here? I know Green eventually reunites with her parents because they also find Professor Oak. In that weird like shadow realm thing. And
yeah, it was like this big building, and they had like this supercomputer with an eye, because of course we had one of those in the last arc, so we gotta have one in this one.
Yeah.
And I swear to God that the little guy that like was like the tech guy for Team Rocket, like he looks like Price, doesn't he? Like he looks like he's Price's kid.
Kinda. Also, Bill was here this whole time. I forgot. He doesn't really do anything though.
Yeah, he's around.
He's there.
Well,
just
he was fixing the Pokemon system again.
Yes, he was there. He was there just to be there. Yeah, but there's like this whole like nice reunion. Green finally gets to meet her parents, but then immediately they all have to basically set off on their next battle, basically, because that's what they, as Pokédex holders, that's basically what they have to do. So they like immediately set out, and was this after Giovanni got like injured and quote unquote mortally injured, or was this before that?
Oh, Giovanni, that doesn't happen until like the very end.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
But yeah, I don't know. We kind of like skipped around a bunch of stuff, but I mean, it's such a weird arc.
Yeah, it's setting up a lot of stuff, but it doesn't do the best job of explaining why.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun and entertaining. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not bad. It's just kind of all over the place. But I mean, that's kind of just par for the course for Pokemon Adventures at this point.
Yeah, this one feels very abrupt, though. That's my biggest complaint with it. Like, I wish they did more with the characters, because I feel like I feel like with the three of them, they've had so much time to develop, but we barely get any like one-on-one time with them, because like anytime that they're on screen, essentially something else has to happen or some other character is in the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of got a fair amount of like one-on-one time in the first arc. Like when they were just kind of doing like the traveling around and doing their own thing.
True. I just would have liked to see more of like what they've been up to and like how they've changed, because it's clear that they're all very different now. Like they've grown up significantly, but the story is kind of just in this like we got to go kind of mentality that you really don't have enough time to really sit down and take everything in.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't mention that like Red had like a weird like sixth sense when it comes to Deoxys.
Yeah, he like kind of like uses with like one of the Deoxys forms like mentally, and like they go through this whole thing at one point.
Yeah, well, basically, like what happens is every time Deoxys shows up, Red can kind of feel it coming every time in like a way that he never could with anything else. And later, once we actually learn what everything's going, like what Deoxys's whole deal is. Well, first of all, Deoxys was created because somebody shot a laser beam into space. I don't know
Makes
who
sense.
shot the laser beam, but somebody shot a laser beam into space. And then a meteor fell down from the sky. And then Giovanni found that meteor and was like, hey, let's make a Pokemon out of this.
Makes sense.
And somehow put Red's blood in it. So now
how did he get
Red
Red's blood?
Well, it said that he like kind of just like so. Yeah, he did just kind of steal it after they had their battle.
Huh. It's bizarre. Anyway, Pokemon, you know.
As the kind of relationship with Deoxys that blab with Mewtwo in a
Yeah.
less detrimental to his health.
Yeah, because like the whole like Mewtwo and Blaine thing was bizarre. This one was just kind of like they can just talk, I guess.
Yeah, I did kind of like I think going back the original thing of Mewtwo being like oh yeah, Blaine incredibly powerful Pokemon that just kind of like has his basic thing else, but he can only use it for a certain amount of time or else he'll die.
Yeah.
But that ended up being a plot point. Sorry, because Mewtwo was all pumped up because it's like, great, I can fight without a time limit. This is awesome.
Yeah. I don't have to stay in the Pokeball and just watch anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the part that I'm kind of gray on. Because I know that they
Yeah.
did they rescued Green's parents and Professor Oak, and then they chased after the airship. And I think this is the point where Red and Mewtwo have their battle with Giovanni and Deoxys,
Yes, I believe so.
which is actually pretty cool. Like I like the whole concept of like, yeah, they're having their rematch after 5 years, and now they're both using incredibly powerful legendary Pokemon.
Yeah, no, that was cool. Like it's cool to see Red has grown as a trainer. I will say the one thing that I kind of was bummed by with this arc is the fact that there's not a lot of interaction between the characters and their Pokemon this time around.
Yeah, that's true.
Like they kind of just are used more as tools than actual like creatures, and they like other than like that one panel early on of like Charizard and Venusaur like showing a bunch of personality, they're really not super present this arc.
Well, when you figure how little time they kind of have to tell the story they want to tell, it kind of makes sense that they would kind of pass over a lot of those kinds of characterizations, I suppose. But I mean, there was also just a lot going on, and I know they had to have Red's angst scene, and then they had to have uh, Green's trauma and Silver's existential crisis.
And Blue's just here.
And Blue's, well, he had a little bit of like a freak out when Professor Oak was captured, but
It was such a like tacked on thing. It was like
yeah, it was
throughout
just
the
kind
whole
of
thing,
there.
everybody's like having these existential crises, and Blue's just there, and he's like, "All right."
Yeah.
It's weird
So
that Blue's the
ultimately,
normal one.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, ultimately, uh, Red ends up defeating Giovanni.
And
Um,
there's a really interesting scene where like Giovanni is this where Giovanni gets knocked out, or is this does it happen after?
I think Deoxys, if I remember right, yeah, because Silver got taken up onto the ship, so he was on the ship too. That's when he got put in that weird outfit.
Yeah.
And then Red basically, like, had that understanding with Deoxys and decided to start working together, even though he was technically Giovanni's Pokemon still. And he had Deoxys transport everybody else off the ship, and then it dumped Silver and Giovanni into a literal like mass of fire.
Yeah, I remember that.
Literally dropped them into like the middle of a forest fire. And Giovanni was actually really badass in the scene because Silver was out cold and Giovanni wasn't. And Giovanni just kind of like stood in the flames holding Silver up above the flames, like to kind of keep him safe. Which is what I mentioned earlier about how Giovanni kind of shows that he does have some good qualities.
Yeah, there is a good person buried under in all that dickhead, basically.
Pretty much. Um, which I did like that scene a lot. That was a really
Mm.
really fun scene. And then kind of like afterwards when Silver is kind of having his whole moment about, he tells everybody that Giovanni's his dad and how he's all upset about it and all this other stuff. But then Blue kind of has like a moment with him and talks him down and like says, look, like, he sucks, but he's still your dad, and he has some good in him, obviously, or he wouldn't have bothered trying to protect you. He wouldn't have gone through all this to try and find you. He's a good trainer. He's wanted to pass on what he's learned as a gym leader to the next generation. Like he has things about him that are good, and
he's just an
not
evil bastard.
Yeah, like you can have his good qualities and still be better. And Silver kind of comes to terms with that, and which is really nice.
Yeah, it was a nice
especially
little character ending.
Especially since the last time Blue and Silver were in the same room together, Blue tried to arrest him.
Yeah, that did happen. It's weird how Blue had to be the voice of reason on this one. Probably because Red is so characteristically confused in this episode, in this arc.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't mention that there was 2 Deoxyses.
I'm not gonna lie, reading it, I did not notice that.
No? They made a huge deal about it. That's why it's the whole thing at the beginning. No?
This arc was not very clear.
Well, he made it, like, Giovanni made it seem like, because the initial attack, like, the Deoxys that attacked Green was different from the one that attacked Red. Like, that first attack on Green and her parents was the first Deoxys, which Giovanni claimed died, but by the end, the other Deoxys went to go find it. So apparently it's alive. I don't know.
Yeah, I was so lost by this point.
But long story short, there was 2 of them. And the one that we saw the most in this one was organism number 2, as it's referred to.
Okay.
But yeah, it was bizarre. But yeah, by the end, they all got turned to stone because
that ending is bizarre. So it's like they're all just like a flash of light happens, and then it show. I love the like look of shock on everyone's faces, and then it just cuts over to basically all the protagonists from the first 2 books minus Golden Crystal, just stone.
Well, as I was reading it this time, I have a feeling that a lot of the story happened the way it did. Because when they did the original Red and Blue arc, the first movie hadn't come out yet. And then when they said, oh, we have a chance to do more Red and Blue stuff, like, because I don't know if you noticed, but they implemented a lot of stuff from the original movie. Like,
True.
They had Mewtwo's, like, mech suit thing.
Yeah.
Like his weird, like, power suppressing armor. The whole concept of the protagonist getting turned to stone. Mew showed up at one point.
True.
I think they even mentioned Mr. Fuji at one point too. So like they had a bunch of elements from the first movie, even though it was a completely different story.
True.
So I think a lot of it just came from them wanting to do movie stuff.
True. I think another thing too is like because this is the first retread like game adaptation, I'm not sure they fully understood like exactly what they wanted, how they were going to handle those.
Mm-hmm.
So they this was their first attempt, and I feel like they kind of rushed it to a degree.
True, but I mean, the next attempt is even more rushed because that's only 2 volumes.
Yeah, they're on the bigger side though.
True. Although the third one and this one was pretty big too. That was like 260 pages, something.
The way that the Pokemon manga volume sizes are all over the place, but
yeah, but the first Emerald volume is like super small.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I will say though, so before we give final thoughts, I want to say things I liked. I really liked in between each like chapter, they would do like a profile highlighting one of the characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then at the next chapter, they'd show their team, like the first half of their team, and then the next chapter they'd show the second half of their team, and then it would cut to
give them little updates.
And it was cool because you'd look at their team and like it'd give you their level and it would tell you like what's been going on, like or if they added a new Pokemon, it would tell them like when they got it.
Mhm.
That was neat. I like stuff like that. It was the only real Pokemon personality we got in this arc.
Yeah. Although I did like that they called attention to Yellow and how like Yellow's Pokemon's levels vary with how pissed off she is,
Yeah, that was interesting too.
which is kind of funny because it had a lot of like it, it reminded me a lot of like the Saiyan saga in Dragon Ball Z, where like they kept relying on like the readings from the Scouter, and then they'd
Yeah,
just be like, "No, actually, we can get stronger than that." Which actually is really funny too, because we didn't mention the Team Rocket had kidnapped Professor Oak in the first place because they wanted to steal the Pokedexes so they could recreate them and make like evil Pokedexes.
hmm. Yeah,
Um, which they were using the whole time. There's a lot going on in this arc,
yeah.
despite how short it was.
Like, so final thoughts. Like, I like the art. I like the new character designs. I like where they were going with them. I just feel like this arc really needed a couple more volumes and like more better pacing
Mm-hmm.
because the pacing's all over the place. Like it
Yeah,
literally jumps from place to place to place, like even worse than the ending to Gold and Silver did.
for sure.
Um if anything, I think my final thoughts are I found this arc kind of disappointing. Not it's not bad, it's just like compared to like Ruby and Sapphire, which yeah, Ruby and Sapphire, which was such a great arc, like overall.
Yeah,
This
agreed.
one just felt just disappointing because I really wanted to see more of like Red, Blue, and Green's journey, and we really didn't have enough time to see any of it because they basically got thrust into this adventure and then turned to stone.
True, but I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and I definitely agree. But at the same time, we kind of already got their like big, like development story from the first two arcs.
True. I think the problem is what they tried to replace that with just wasn't nearly as interesting.
No, I'm with you there. I definitely think this is one of the weaker ones out of the ones we've covered so far.
Yeah, and it's disappointing because I was kind of looking forward to it just because I like the aesthetic so much.
Mm-hmm. Me too. But I'd say overall, I mean, like I said, it's not bad. I'd give it maybe a 6, maybe a 6.5.
I'd say I gave it a low 7, high 6. You got to remember that my scores were very generous for all the other arcs. Um, it's
It's
definitely
not to say that this arc is bad. It's just it didn't measure up to the others.
it is definitely the weakest so far though,
Mm-hmm. For sure.
especially considering how good Ruby and Sapphire was.
And I think part of it too is because we didn't have any new characters. I feel like part of what makes the Pokemon Adventures manga so good, as a whole, is that every time a new arc starts, we get a whole new set of characters, and we didn't get that this time. And I feel like that kind of just set us up for disappointment.
Yeah, like to me, like the biggest thing was like there was really nothing new. This arc feels very much like a placeholder.
Like this arc could have just been a movie,
Yeah, or
and as a movie would have been fine, you know. But
a movie with some editing because I it's still very all over the place. But
yeah, it could get some cuts in places. But if it was, set up in movie format, I feel like it would have been better.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't know.
I am looking forward to Emerald though, because at least I I've heard mixed things, but at least I know there is new characters and different ideas to pull here.
So you started it a little bit, right?
I saw our new character, and I'm not sure how I feel about him.
Yeah, that's kind of the general consensus with his design.
Why wasn't it Wally? I just don't get it. But
Well, I
whatever.
mean, Wallace is already his own character, so
I know.
They have to have the character that's named after the game. That's just the thing they went with.
I know. Yeah, we'll save that though for next time, where we wrap up the original Pokemon Adventures storyline, with the Emerald arc. Probably not right away, but we will be getting to that probably sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like this one, it's not a super long arc.
Yeah, I just wanted, I want the resolution on what happens, because like, God, that ending was so abrupt.
Yeah, because we end up with all 5 of the main protagonists that we see in this arc getting turned to stone.
Also, I really enjoy the fact that Red got turned to stone shirtless while holding Yellow.
Yeah, right.
like that's how he goes like that.
like a bridal carry kind of situation.
Yeah. And Silver's just there.
Yep. It's pretty
But
funny.
yeah, so sorry to be a bit of a downer for everyone that was looking forward to the next arc, but hopefully Emerald redeems it slightly. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I have no idea.
It's gonna be Battlefront tier.
I mean, we get the Ruby and Sapphire characters back, so I'm happy about that because I really like them.
This is true. I'm really looking forward to. I know it's a far in the future, but I'm looking forward to Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire.
I am too, because it not only does it we get Ruby and Sapphire back, but also Red and Green make cameos in that one. So
yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, guys, once again, thanks for joining us on Geek Addicts. You can find Geek Addicts on all the major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also find our episodes on YouTube with video versions, and you can find all of our links at linktree/theBarberWhoGames. And be sure to check out the SuperPod Network, which is the network that we are currently in, featuring other shows like Novel Console, SuperPod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, to name a few. The website is superpodsaga.com, and there is a ton of cool stuff, podcasts, blogs, videos, all sorts of stuff. We're really trying to build this network up, and everybody over there is really awesome, so be sure to check that out. And until next time, guys, we will see you all later.
Yeah, have a good one.